Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is a very unique topic called being raised by incel men. And I'm thinking of really expanding on this and categorizing the different types of men that you could be raised by, therefore that you would attract. And I'm not going to say that this is a directly coming from my life, but it is partially coming from my life experiences. So this is not just a platform for me to preach. It's also a platform for me to seek out other people's experiences and for us to have a discussion. Some other types of men that I would like to talk about are mama boys and meshed men. Of course, we're doing incel men today. And if there are other topics that you guys like to talk about, and this is a safe space to talk about it, and it's not coming from a place of scorn, but coming from a place of really wanting to see evolution and change, then this is, if you're looking for that, then this is the platform for it. Now, the real meat and potatoes of this is being raised by incel men and the spirit, the broken spirit of the femininity. Because it's my theory that when you are raised by men of these topics, that, and you're a woman, you know, you're a little girl, that you may have a broken feminine spirit. Now, incel men can range from docile to very brutal and aggressive. The character isn't just one type of character, but the profile is very, usually has some similarities. One of those things will be that they don't make a lot of money, or if they do, then they're doing it in a way that they don't feel locked into purpose. They don't feel like they are truly happy with what they do. So they probably could, if they're not making money, if they're like jobless, then that's one thing, but they can also have a job, but really hate that job. And I mean, really hate it. Like, they absolutely can't stand it. And this is a really important part of it because it breaks the man's spirit to work under somebody or work for someone or at a job that they aren't truly being, like, their own purpose is being valued and they aren't truly feeling valued. Therefore, it starts to trickle in to how they treat the women and how they raise their daughters. One of the first topics that actually introduced me to the concept of an incel man was watching Psychology in Seattle. This is a psychologist who reviews different shows, and he was reviewing Love is Blind. I believe it was season 5, where this woman realized that the man that she was dating didn't like her makeup. And so the psychologist actually described that what she was dealing with was a man who is an incel. Now, when I looked up the word incel, it actually stems from a bigger word, which is incelibate, or not, basically somebody who does not have sex, but it's not voluntary. You know, it's because of their lifestyle. It's because of probably their mental, emotional, and physical state that they aren't having sex with women. And so that also creates a lot of frustration in them. So if we look at the profile so far of what I've gathered about incel men, they typically aren't living a purpose-driven life. They aren't doing work that they like to do, or more than just like that they're called to do. So more than likely they spend most of their days wasting, either feeling undervalued or maybe even escaping some of that, right? So they could be also possibly addicted to drugs, alcohol, video games, women, strip clubs, these types of things, right? And they also do work, but they aren't very happy in that work. So this ends up being a situation where incel men will probably share that they aren't having a lot of financial they don't have a lot of financial abundance. And so this actually makes them feel very inferior to the billionaires. And so when I really looked at this and analyzed and theorized about this, I realized that there may not be that big of a difference between a man who's an incel and a man who's a billionaire. And now I'm not going to paint this as all billionaire men, but the biggest thing that an incel man needs is money in order to have sex. This is something that I want to stress. The biggest thing that an incel man needs is money to have sex. And so the big difference that I see between an incel and a billionaire is the money. The similarity is that they both share a common mentality that women are to be bought. Okay? So, and I'm saying billionaires, but again, I'm not saying every billionaire, but a very specific type. So again, they share a very similar idea, is that women should be bought, that women are meant to be bought. So they share a mentality of women being, are as utilization functions for their needs, okay? And so when you're dealing with this mentality, they see women only for what they can do for them. So this concept of being a provider, I think, gets masked under a billionaire who has this mentality, but this talk isn't really about billionaires, this is about incels. So when we have an incel, right, who doesn't have a lot of money, who doesn't live a purpose-driven life and shares this mentality that women should be bought, and then he goes to be with a woman or have a daughter, apparently, like he's able to do that. Right? Somehow some woman comes through and he finds a way in and he finds a way to her and then has children and has daughters specifically. You're going to find that this man shares certain traits with the woman that he's with and the daughters that he has. Okay? One of the traits will be that he might have sex with the woman that he's with, right? But he may not be attracted to her. Right? And if he is attracted to her, he may struggle with that, being that he thinks that she can be bought. Therefore, any guy could come and buy her away from him. So typically, some of the energy of this is that he is like holding on to this woman. He can also be abusive to her emotionally, mentally, physically, verbally, right? And actually can kind of create other value systems, but really it's masking the fact that he needs this woman to have sex with, right? And he probably clings to her because he probably typically would not be able to have sex because he suffers from the incelability, if that's a word, incelability. So typically he's not the type to have sex. So when he finally has a woman, he will do what he has to cling to her, whether that's lie, right, or be abusive, any of those things, right? And so this woman, if she's the type to dress up, he might try to control how she dresses, okay? And if she is the type to dress up and he feels really insecure, then by either default or by his own control, she will dress less. She'll dress up less. These are definitely typically like the women who get, pregnant and then they can't bounce back, right? Because there's no support system, right? You're completely vulnerable when you're pregnant. And then if there's no support system, it's different than being a single mother because the man is still around, but he's pulling from your energy just like a child would. So you're losing more of your energy. I'm not saying it's better than a single mother. I'm not saying it's worse than single mother. It's different than being a single mother when a woman is married or has a child or is with an incel man. And then the thing is that you'll also start to see the issues with his daughters because He will struggle with his daughters wearing makeup and getting prettier and becoming more grown and filling in their bodies. So you can really test a man by his capacity to be a father. Is one of the theories that I'm falling on, because I really do see that from, like I said, my personal experiences and things like that, that once you have a man who struggles with how you look, it's a strong indication of this archetype. And I also must say that when it comes to religion, this can, or spirituality, this does not, from my experience, live in just one type. Excuse me, because I have seen it in the spiritual community, like astrology and Reiki. I've seen it in that community where these men struggle with women, how they do their hair, right? If they straighten their hair versus keep it natural, things like that. And then you'll also see it, I've also seen it in the Christian community where these men don't want their daughters at all to wear makeup to explore beauty, okay? Because what is happening is that these men associate beauty and makeup like tools for sex. And that's all that they associate it with. They associate beauty and makeup as tools for sex, not creativity, not self-expression, not any of those things as tools for sex. Why? Because going back to the first point that I made is that these men see women as products to buy. Okay, but just remember the difference between incel versus a billionaire is money. So he feels even more powerless amongst women, right? But again, a billionaire can feel powerless amongst women too. So, but let's just go back to the raising his daughters. So he starts to kill his daughter's spirit if she tries to explore putting on makeup, getting girly, getting dressy, being feminine, because to him, femininity is something that's for sale for sex. That's how he associates femininity. And this is why things like makeup, doing your hair, changing your hair, exploring your creative beauty is something that he does not see fit unless you are ready to sell yourself for sex, right? And so an incel man, specifically when he has a daughter who's a teenager, this is where you're going to really feel the effects of what I would say the broken spirit, the broken feminine spirit, because that's the age, the coming of age, when his daughters are ready, right? Primely ready to go out and start exploring themselves sexually and amongst relationships. And this creates such a strong fear in this man because they really only associate it as prostitution. They really do. Now, it can be covered as a father who is trying to protect his daughter, right? But the difference is that he would try to guide her, right? And allow her to, a sound, solid father would allow his daughter to explore her creativity, to explore her beauty, but then give her guidance on her own selection process when she is, starting to date and be into boys. He's going to want to guide her, protect her that way. But an incel father will try to control her, not guide her. So he will try to either keep her even more from exploring her beauty, or keep her locked in the house, or keep her doing certain things. He will try to control her and keep her away from the whole thing itself. Because his biggest fear is that his daughter is a prostitute, because that's how he associates this for women. This is how he sees women. Okay, and forget it if she's like into very specific kind of looks, because if you speak to an incel and you talk to him about looks, you will find that he will have an idea about what looks are more closer to prostitution, right? And so this is what he battles with. But ultimately, this creates a broken spirit of femininity. And like I said, the other thing about this archetype, is that he isn't just docile. Okay, this is not just for docile fathers. This can also be very aggressive fathers who will aggressively hit, choke, physically try to stop their daughters from developing themselves because of his fear of prostitution. And when I say fear, it's the fear that his daughter will become what he is attracted to, because he also has shame that the only thing he can do is buy women. I don't know if he knows this. I don't know if every incel knows this, but he has a lot of shame because he does not, because it's just not natural. Maybe the shame comes because it's just not natural. It's not truly natural to relate to women this way. And maybe deep down he knows it, but he is absolutely solidified in seeing women this way. Okay, these are the types of men who will have fetishes and who will have archetypes of women that they specifically like. This is where you get your Asian fetish versus your Spanish fetish, your black girl fetish. You will have different types of fetishes also, because they relate to women as a prostitution level, not as human beings who are well-rounded in what they want and what they're trying to cultivate. He can't see it that way. I don't know why he can't, but that's what I have come to experience, is that he can't see it that way. He's incapable. He doesn't have the capacity. He's just too well-groomed. Maybe he's too deep in it sexually, right? So behind closed doors, he deeply fantasizes about these types of fetishes of women, right? So then when he's out in the world with the woman that he's with, or his daughters, his shame is just so over-consuming, right? And so he has ideas about looks that hint to his own practices when it comes to buying women, right? And in today's day and age, it's not even necessary to buy women because we have pornography. And, I've talked about pornography a lot on this channel. We all have dabbled in pornography from what I've understood, but it's how it's used, right? So pornography isn't necessarily bad, but if it's being a tool to reinforce that mentality, that's when it becomes quite dangerous, especially for the women in his life. Because either they're never enough, right? Because they're never quite going to fit that sexual mold, or he won't allow them to explore themselves because he doesn't see makeup and beauty as something for women to creatively explore and be women in, okay? And then there is probably the other thing, which is possibly some incels are also sexually confused themselves. And some of them are also possibly a branch off of the heterosexual one, or some who probably are more bisexual or more fluid. And maybe they too, they understand the prostitution arena so well. Like they see all of that as just sex. They see weaves, they see hair, they see lipstick, they see all of it as sex. And maybe there's a part of them that wants to be that themselves. So this is just an intro. This is something that I've been having on my heart and my mind lately because of the things that I have gone through in life, the people that I've met, the things that I've experienced. And I've also had a lot of anger towards this, but I finally have the space where the anger isn't what's driving me, but just the cry for us to see the truth. And then I open this as a platform for anyone who may also have experienced this or who has any input to say, to please come through and share with me your ideas on this topic. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I wish you the best on your life's journey. I'll see you guys in the next video.